Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of In the Eyes of Truth. With us back again is Lorenzo Pacini, Associate Professor of Political Philosophy and Geopolitics at Unidolmati University of Bologna, Italy. Welcome back, Lorenzo.
Thanks a lot.
Well, lots happening. Let's begin with Meloni. She's the favorite issue for Italy. A lot of people outside of Italy are talking about her being a great conservative that's saved Italy. Has she saved Italy? Because from what I understand, she's letting a lot more migrants in than previous.
That's true. Let me say as a premise that the perception of Meloni outside of Italy is pretty distorted, just because the information filtered are very different concerning the one we have here in our domestic context. Yes, Meloni actually she's trying, to conquer every record. We have the highest number of migrants. Actually, she signed a contract in June to receive a couple of millions of migrants in 1 year and a half. So we're talking about incredible quantity of migrants coming more. Uh, of course, adding to the previous migrants who were welcomed along these 3 years of her mandate. And this is a very key point in our politics here, because migrants were one of the topics which was pushed more by the right parties to fight against this illegal immigration, because we're not talking about legal immigrants. Of course, we're talking about clandestines. So that's the point, that's the issue. And she's welcoming them just to position herself in the European context, European leaders, with a preeminent position, let me say. That's why she is perceived in Europe as a great leader. But actually, if we look to the people's perception, if we listen to the people's opinions, that's not actually the same. We had some regional and local elections in the last 2 weeks, and we will have more at the end of November, which are showing us a different situation of the interest of people in the party of Meloni and her position, because actually her party is uh, having a huge lack with the other parties in Italy, and she's completely breaking the coalition of right parties. And mostly she's doing some policies which belongs to the left parties. So we have this incredible mix, which people are not loving so much. And not only the immigrants, let me say, for our friends, we have other problems. Meloni is reshaping completely also the foreign policy of Italy. Our foreign policy minister, Mr. Tajani, I think he would remember for such a support, not only to Israel along the Gaza issue, but also because they are rewriting completely the international relations in Italy. For example, for the order of Meloni, she has separated with a new reform the Minister of Foreign Affairs in two. So we have doubled the job actually, one
Hmm.
dedicated to diplomacy, one dedicated to financial affairs, which actually it's the basis for every
Hmm.
diplomatic mission, but doesn't matter, they don't know it. Another point is that they are rewriting the definitions of terrorism. I think the words. So how Meloni was looking to Al Julani in New York during their
Oh,
meeting,
she
and
had
that's
Google eyes for him. I mean, if you can
yes.
find a woman that can look at you like that with those kinds of eyes.
Exactly. That's the point. And you know what has happened? That also in Italian armed forces, there were many very bad rumors about that, because our soldiers were fighting against ISIS in Syria, especially in Mosul. And actually, it was exactly against the brigades led by Al Julani, which was the number two of Al Qaeda inside of ISIS. So imagine you have your prime minister, which is dealing and making Google eyes with exactly that terrorist that was killing your boys. That's something completely weird. It's cringe, you know. And people are understanding this. But her position inside of the conservative coalition in Europe is very important. Maybe it was stronger in the past, and now he is uh, in a sort of soft blackmail because she needs to maintain her position, because she is exactly the right person for Washington, but also at the same time, she has inside of her government, which is a coalition government, so not united only on her party, an important presence of Englishmen. Talking about some politicians like Tajani, for example, which are very faithful to the British crown. So this means that they are, trying to arrange to maintain not only Italy inside of the NATO alliance and in general on the Atlanticist positions, but also to improve the neighbors to go in the same direction. And of course, we know that Italy is so important in Mediterranean Sea for the traffic of crude oil and gas coming from the Middle East. This means that, and from Caucasus also, this means that they cannot, leave Italy. Italy must stay all the time under the control of a foreign power, and that's fundamental if they want to maintain their strength inside the control, inside of the Mediterranean. And in this sense, Meloni, she's showing that she's the right person to do that. She's always ready to jump on the group of the winners, even when she's not in the winners. We saw that also a couple of days ago when in Tel Aviv there was the meeting between Donald Trump, over leaders, and Israeli leaders, and Meloni was just there, exactly in the middle. They positioned her exactly next to Trump. That's so meaningful because it's the power of communication.
Right,
People who
right.
are arranging this, they are professional. They're not doing that for casual. So they know that that's important. And this is incredible because she did exactly the same also for the Ukraine conflict. She was firstly trying to maintain a kind of balanced position. Then, when she received the order, she immediately became the first supporter for the Ukrainian war. And we
Yep,
signed
yeah.
a contract for 10 years for military supplies to Ukraine. That's completely crazy. I mean, it actually seems like in Europe, Italy has to provide weapons for everybody,
Mhm.
but we don't have this power, we don't have this strength. Our soldiers are missing their bullets for exercise. So you can imagine how cringe is the situation. We are giving ourselves at all for others, but we don't have anything for our people. That's really actually what is happening here in Italy with the Meloni as a prime minister. And honestly, she's gonna have a last year of governance here, and the perception for next elections is not so good because we are uh, we are looking for something different, but we don't have in our political context. We don't have those parties. Electoral system is so blocked in Italy.
Mhm.
It's pretty impossible for any new party to enter the last reform of last two reforms for elections were laws which made disasters. We had a cut of the half of parliament members. We had a new system of calculation, and this is a point which means to reduce and block, make more complicated, not to block the representants of politicians with people. And but this is the base of democracy. And if you remove this link between people and leaders, it's the end.
Yeah, it seems to be the trend for most of Europe these days. Non-Russian Europe, and actually non Austro-Hungarian. If you look at the old
Yeah.
Austro-Hungarian Empire, those nations, Austro-Hungary, Czech, Slovakia, they're investing into a separate bloc that's going against Brussels. So it's
Let me say one thing in this
interesting
sense,
tendency.
Stanislav, because Italy has a very important role in this. With the IMEC corridor,
Hmm.
IMEC corridor, which actually is called also the Cotton Way, should be this project starting in 2023 an alternative to the Silk Way, okay, to the
Hmm.
Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. Actually, the project is to move to move resources from India, passing through Israel, arriving in the Mediterranean Sea, and distributing to Europe through Trieste. Trieste, it's a very important point. It's a beautiful big city with an international free port, which is situated on the northeast of Italy, on the border between Italy, Croatia, and Slovenia. So actually, we are talking about the entrance to the Eastern Europe, okay? And from Trieste, we have some lines which actually are dividing Europe between the Middle Europe, so-called Middle Europe, which is the eastern part, Austro-Hungarian Empire, former Austro-Hungarian
Yep.
Empire, okay, and the Balkans, and the Central Europe, which is with Germany, which is with the other France, the other countries. From there, we can line two directions. One is to Romania, to the port of Costanza, and another one is to Germany, to the Baltics. Okay, we have the ports there. We have a couple of different ports where you can approach. So they are triangling, okay, that part of Europe. And actually, if you think about it, that's so interesting because it's exactly the geography of the locations they are trying to involve, firstly, in the war against Russia.
Yeah.
So we have also those countries which are fighting more against this Russophobia, that are trying to balance the relation with the neighbors, Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, okay? You mentioned that. And the point is that from Trieste, this new, let me say, geoeconomic road should provide energy for Europe, but not only energy. That's the point. We're talking about a road for military supplies. And that's interesting because the leadership of this project it's up to Italy. But since 2023 till today, nothing happened about this line. We have an incredible number of conferences, press conferences,
Those are the fun ones.
leaders coming to Europe. Nothing happened. But that's interesting
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
they are trying to use Italy also, to become the leader, as I explained you
Mhm.
before, to become the leader of this movement
Mhm.
against Russia. And this is completely crazy because people are not against Russia in Italy. People loves Russia. We have a strong relation, historical relation, cultural relations, as you know. And the point is that they are dividing this, and this will have consequences, not only by the point of elections, of course, but this will have consequences because if you want to move a country to war, as they are repeating God's like this mantra, all the time, you need to have people convinced to fight your war. I mean, it's a proxy
Right,
war, it's
right.
not our war. So that's the point.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's going to be, they're doing their best to make sure it stops being a proxy war and goes into a direct conflict well, starting with obviously with Poland and Romania,
Yeah.
but expanding out and the Baltics, and expanding out to encompass most of Europe. So what? Yeah, and you're right. Meloni has a very managed profile outside of Europe, outside of Italy, because she's being constantly, especially in the West, promoted as a conservative leader that saved Italy, that's leading conservative movements in Europe. But you're right. We see the exact opposite. Now, I read a report the other day that the average Italian, especially in southern Italy, is broke by the third week of the month. The money's out. That's the poverty level of the people. How much truth is that?
It's situation, economics, financial situation in Italy, it's really disaster. Let me give an horrible data information. Almost a third of population cannot afford an entire month. This is a data which was shared in Italy from the National Statistic Institute just at the beginning of the year. So we're talking about many months ago
Mhm.
already. And the point is that we they covered immediately this data because it's really a catastrophe, let me
Oh
say.
yeah, yeah.
This means that this is the first issue. But the point is, if I try to look in perspective, okay, in a short term, middle term, but also long term, we don't see any other options because also the actual government was, beating a lot on the welfare. I mean, Italy was known in the whole world for our welfare state. Okay, we were really, let me say, really good position because we had many social helps. We had many free things, for healthcare. We had lots of these things which were actually the socialist and communist battles along the 70s and 80s. Okay, so we gained this kind of welfare state, which was really good. But since 1992, our economy is not growing anymore. Our wages still remain the
1992.
same. 1992, since
Wow.
1992, 1993, it's more than 30 years. That's the point. So now we have it's like the latest breaths that we can have just because we were, preserving lots of money. Our grandparents, lived in the 50s
Hmm.
and the 60s, which were the years where United States were introducing a bunch of money in our economy. So we had a very good financial situation along crossing all the century, the 20th
Hmm.
century. But now we don't have anything else. We don't have anything more. And as they blocked our domestic economy and they also blocked the European one, introducing the euro as a common currency. The point is that we cannot arrange anything by ourselves. We don't have a sovereignty for our currency, for example. So we cannot decide anything. We have Central European Bank with the European Commission. So Brussels and Strasbourg, which are operating together, and they are both deciding which will be, the national financial plans for every country of the European Union. And you don't have any kind of options, else. So the point is, we are closed in this cage, which is becoming a suicide for us. And we knew that since the beginning, but for example, in Italy, we are not people, we never did the revolution, so that's the point. Yeah, there is an ancient motto from Latins, ancient Latins, which says panem et circensem. In Latin, it means you need to give bread, I mean food, and entertainment to people, and you can govern without problem. Doesn't matter if your country is collapsing, doesn't matter if the empire is dying. The important is to give the perception that everything, yeah, it's going bad, but not too much. And when you arrive to touch the end, it's too late
Yeah.
to try to figure out a solution. So these data are incredibly terrible because if I go outside and I meet people and I see around me, you really see the countries, the urbanistic shape are completely switching to something else. Many shops are closing. Other shops like from United States franchising, some Chinese shop, Turkish shops a lot are growing. We don't have any more artisans. We don't have, all those kind of things which were making Italy so fascinating, and which are iconic also for us. And our national, we don't have any more national infrastructures. So that's the point. Our telecommunication are Americans, our gas and oil are French, so that's the point. They destroyed step by step the country. So to transform it, as I explained you at the beginning, in the perfect colony to do the dirty jobs and also the inside job in European context. So another very interesting thing, that one of, for the NATO command in Europe, Italy should be one of the first targets if Russia would attack Europe. And this is interesting because I think this has no strategic, reasonable matter. It cannot work. I mean, Italy, it's far away. It's not, for many reasons. But I really think that this is their biggest fear because they are afraid to lose the perfect colony, to lose their military giant territory. We have more than 140 military bases of America in our on our land. We have the biggest radar of the Mediterranean Sea. We have nuclear weapons of foreigners. So the point is that they cannot lose us. So I think they will not allow to destroy at all our economy, and they will not allow to, people make a revolution. They just will press a little bit more, just arrive till, the breaking point. Don't surpass it, just remain on the line. And at that point, in that situation, in that frame, you can govern very well people because you don't have any other option. So if you want to do a war, that's how you can provide your bread. If you want to do a revolution, you don't have resources to do revolution. And separating us also from our neighbors and for other people like Russians, for example, or also Chinese, which are the second target in our foreign policy, they are literally isolating us enough to be an isol in the middle of nothing.
Mm.
And that's not their biggest fear, my biggest fear, because when you are too isolated, it becomes very complicated for people which love you to help you. And that's the point.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch. Well, there were recently, as far as I recall, there were recently mass protests
Yeah,
and union outages, well, walkouts. Did that have any effect on the government? Did anybody pay attention at all,
no,
or that was
no.
just
Actually, we
come
have
and
some
go?
rallies pretty every week since already 2021, I think, something, but also before, just, changing the topics of the rallies. But the point is that in these days, we have very huge manifestations, huge numbers, I mean, and this has no effects. The only effect we saw is that they are using these manifestations to increase the control by police and the digital control also
Hmm.
with cameras, verifying systems, this kind of new apps, new QR codes. That's the only effort we saw. They really doesn't care. They don't care about it. They don't care about people will because they don't need people anymore. And this technocratic system, I repeat, has been built really with the approval of people. That's the point. If you want to use democracy for doing your stuff, it's so easy. You just need to select, very precisely select and introduce some good ideas inside of the political system, then to cut, remove what exceeds, and go straight to give only a couple of options, which actually are the same option just on the over side of the medal. And this is what we see now. I mean, we have a government that officially is right-handed, and it's supported by the left. That's the point. Is we have no this anymore this dichotomy
Hmm.
inside of the parliament because they are doing the same policies. That's the point. This means that it doesn't matter if you choose left or right. It's the same.
Right.
The actual government, right government, did exactly the policies of the left one, the previous government. So, what does it mean? That the process of democracy is closed. The circle of democracy is closed. They can use it, they can maintain the system living, but it's not anymore true democracy. It's becoming a tyranny.
Yeah.
And when you have a tyrant, the point is, you fight against him or you have no solution. And our history, our as Italians, as a country, as peoples, Europe in general taught us that or you fight or you will not get anything well, anything good for your future. So my question mark is, are we ready to fight for, defend ourselves? Because after many years where you have been, invaded, where you have been military occupied, where you have been under the ideological propaganda of foreign countries. So we had almost three generations, okay, of people, four generation actually of people since 1945, since the end of World War II, which have been educated in being slaves. That's the point. You know, being comfortable in their situation, in their condition, not being free of doing what they really want, but just they should seems to be free to do what
Hmm.
someone else was telling them was the right thing to do. And nowadays we don't have leaders, we don't have political parties, we don't have representatives of the people which can provide for solutions because the system has been closed. And so now which is closed, you cannot enter anymore.
Right.
And this means that we have a problem, and this is the biggest problem because it's maybe I'm too pessimistic, but if I look around, I see new generations which are more interested in TikToks and social medias, and that's their battle virtually, not real battle, not real
Right.
political battle. So you have separated them in the digital farm, and now you can do what you want with the real nude life.
In Russia, there's a joke about Europe that the power of European democracy is it really doesn't give a damn what the people want. So,
It's
so
true.
they create this illusion of choice, which you really only have one choice because all
Yes,
the other choices are just horrible choices, but they're not really giving you any choices. So you have an illusion of choice.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
and I've been saying this from the very beginning because a lot of people here in Russia are like, look, they'll re-elect new governments. They'll go away from these societal policies. Listen, the opposition's just as much in the pocket of the owners as the people in power now. So it's elections don't change anything, right, in this kind of a
It
situation.
is.
Well, let me ask you, so all these people Maloney is importing, they're all doctors and engineers, right? They're all productively working for the Italian economy, right?
Well, some years ago, there was the former also Prime Minister of Italy, Romano Prodi, who actually was the one to project euro. Okay, and he said one very famous sentence, has been quoted many times. It was the beginning of this century, and he was on a national TV talk, and he was um, the interviewer was asking, what are we going to live with euro? No, what is this euro? How does it work? And he said, you just need to know one very simple thing. With euro, we will gain like if we will work one day more, but actually we will work one day less.
Right.
And this was one of the biggest lies we ever heard on by our politicians. Because actually, euro immediately doubled the price, the cost of life for everything, and it destroyed our, national reserve.
Right.
And that's the national one and also some of the private one. So this was the concrete, very, very, very concrete demonstration that that system was a disaster. Then we have the crisis of 2008. Then we had the other one. Then they invented the spread from the European Central Bank just to connect with the Deutsche Bank, which is a German national bank. Why should we have why should we pay for the German bank? That's completely crazy. And they invented all those systems just to destroy this possibility for Italian companies to save themselves. We had a huge migration of Italian companies abroad, China, Central Asia, some of them also South America. And now they are asking them to come back, but we don't have resources to feed them. That's the point. So we had also this missing of Italian genius. All the good people, the good genius, the good inventors. They ran away. They ran away because when they saw that the country was not giving them a perspective for the future, they decided to run away. And I honestly understand them because if you try to build your own life and you cannot see anything, I repeat, also in a short term, middle term, 5, 10 years, what do we have in front of us in 5 years? War. 2030, they decided they will start a war. I mean, and they also hope that Russia will wait for them at the border, just checking the time
Yeah,
if they are
yeah.
punctual or not. And this is completely crazy. They're telling you, okay, guys, in 5 years we're going to fight. Why should I stay here? Why should I remain in Italy? Why should I want, to do something good for my country when my country is telling me that I will be killed for a battle of someone else? For the interest of few elites, they
Mhm.
are still positioned in the war horizontally, but it's vertically from between people and elites. It's another dimension of the battle, but I repeat, the importance is good, staying in a good chill, entertainment, and it's done. You have people fighting on social medias, writing their posts and discussing on comments, and that's it. When you produce enough dopamine, to drag your people, it's done, it's perfect. You don't need anything else. Just outside, in the real world, in the real life, things are happening. And they will notice too late. That's my biggest fear, to don't arrive to see the day which will be too late. That's the point.
Oh, with plummeting birth rates, mass immigration. you'd think people would be by this point, getting to the point where they can't stand on their feet anymore. They'd have to rebuild, but yeah,
Every collapse, every end of an empire, every end of a country, of course, is followed by another, by a restart, by reconstruction. But I think now we are in a position where we really need to see the end, to touch the lowest level, because um, we have like this magic trick for which we are in this fairy tale, where when we still have those entertainment and those food, when we're still not engaged too much directly in a conflict, also domestic conflict, like a civil war, for example, could be, you don't feel it on your skin, and that's the
hmm
point. Because actually, I mean, we are a country not directly engaged in a war since 80 years. So that's a good, that's a good point. And we should need, I think, to start to think seriously if we really need to arrive to touch a war or not, because the consequences of these kind of things are so serious, are not a video game. And that's why I
Yep,
think
yep.
we really need, to a little bit to wash our brains in a positive sense, and to jump in the pool of the concrete life, to see that there will not be someone else to do this for us. Or we decide to change the situation, or I must say we cannot wait for any savior coming from outside, just because it's our matter, it's our country, it's our sovereignty, it's our future, not the over people, over countries, over. And we used, always to wait for some miracle from outside, but I think we are the one who should become the heroes to do it, not waiting for someone else. It's up to us. And as soon as we understand this, as soon we can change the situation.
Yeah, there's a Russian saying, "Надежда последняя умирает, hope dies last." So people
Yeah.
they hold the hope even as the ship is sinking. Um, Yeah, they don't want to realize nobody's coming to save you. You know, you got to do it yourself. Oh, that's from talk to talk, the fate of Italy does not seem to be getting better. It's every time we've talked, it just seems to be getting deeper and deeper. Well, we are almost out of time. I want to thank you very much for joining us, Lorenzo. Uh, Italy, outside of Italy, they really are managing the view of what Italy looks like, and
Yeah.
they're trying. Obviously, you don't see all the points, you don't see the collapses, but which is unfortunate because a lot of people have the wrong view, and they, especially Meloni, some kind of conservative hero. Everybody, thank you for joining. If you have any comments, questions for Lorenzo, leave them in the comments. Make sure he gets it. Lorenzo, thank you again. Thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you, and we will come back to this. Hopefully, there'll be some good
Sure.
news finally.
I hope so, really. Let's work on it.
Let's work on it. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.